of Tzu Chi's casual work programs in Malaysia unite residents to work towards a common goal. Tzu Chi volunteers in China organized aid distribution in Sichuan Province, helping 388 needy families. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Helen Now. Thank you for joining us. Malaysia has been hit with natural disasters of all kinds as of late. On the west coast, severe gusts of wind torn through towns with hard-hit areas, including Kampong Sungai Rusad. After a disaster assessment, consolation cash was handed out through 30 of the most affected families in the area. Meanwhile, Tzu Chi's cash reward program continues in the flooded region of Pahang. Here's more.
In Malaysia's Pahang, team of Dr. Yu Guohua joins Tzu Chi volunteers at the scene of the cash for work program to not only help move relief supplies, but also to serve as a medical professional.
Money is problematic. Thank you for coming here to help us.
Seeing them with ailments breaks my heart, but when talking to them, they seem very strong emotionally.
Knowing that many of the local residents are Muslim and have strict food guidelines, at the cash for work event in Patong Tengguk, Tzu Chi volunteers sought help from local housewives to help cook the meals.
We didn't bring any of our kitchenware. The pots were borrowed from the nearby mosque. We just brought food.
The food volunteers brought was Tzu Chi's instant rice, which is very useful when there is no electricity or running water.
We're in an area where the electricity has gone out, so we just used cold drinking water to cook the instant rice. They were amazed that we could use cold water to make a meal.
It's very easy to make and simple to make. Even if it is for a lot of people, the result is delicious.
Adding tofu and beans, the instant rice becomes a nutritious meal after a long day of work. In the aftermath of the flood, because of Tzu Chi's loving care, residents here have not only regained their smiles, but are sitting on full stomachs. Meanwhile, severe gusts of wind tore through areas on the west coast of Malaysia at the end of 2014. Among the hardest hit areas was Kampong Sungai Rusad.
Some residents are still living in the village because they couldn't escape to the mosque. They hid within a sturdier part of their home and didn't come out.
Following a disaster survey, Tzu Chi held an aid distribution inside a Chinese elementary school, where 31 families received financial assistance.
I am very thankful to God for sending you to visit and assist us.
With the east coast of Malaysia experiencing the worst flooding in 30 years and the west coast suffering through hurricane-level winds, no matter the nature of the disaster, Tzu Chi volunteers have remained steadfast in helping victims through these tough times.
In the aftermath of the worst floodings in 30 years, volunteers in eastern Malaysia have started cash reward programs to help residents clean up after the flood. In Pahang's Pangdang Tengku and Temerloh, residents are eager to start rebuilding their lives. Thus, the past lines dividing the three major ethnicities of Malaysia have been torn down, but are united under a common goal.
On the streets, cranes are clearing away large debris, while volunteers are clearing away smaller pieces in front of homes.
The residents are filled with confidence despite this difficult situation. I saw a ray of hope at the disaster site today.
In the aftermath of the flooding in eastern Malaysia, Tzu Chi's Cash for Work program has given residents in Temerloh and Patong Tengguk a reason to feel confident.
We saw how hard residents had it and thought if we came to help at the cash for work sites, then more residents will want to join.
We can't just sit around waiting for others to help us. We need to do something ourselves.
In this moment, the three major ethnic groups of Malaysia have come together as one.
I'm helping others, and others will help me too. I'm not worried about my house, because I know others will help me clean it. I will help others too. This is what it means to work together.
Though we are of different ethnicities, our hearts are united. The situation we're all in is difficult, but we are not spiritually tired, not because we have relief supplies to get us through, but because we're working together through this time. It makes me very happy inside.
Though a natural disaster has struck Malaysia, the citizens of the country are more united than ever.
Since joining WTO in 2002, Taiwanese now have access to a wide variety of imported food, and many of them have proved to be better in quality and cheaper in price compared to their local counterparts. However, this is not necessarily a good thing, as the decline of Taiwan's food self-sufficiency rate is affecting the lives of numerous farmers.
Thanks to globalization, you can enjoy a wide variety of food. At a common supermarket in Taiwan, one can easily find a wide variety of imported foods, such as pomegranates from the US, apples from France, kiwis from Italy, and then there is the homegrown tomato.
Actually, I prefer the imported ones because I think they are of higher quality.
We will buy both domestic and imported fruits. We won't choose over where it comes from, as some fruits are just not available in Taiwan.
Since Taiwan joined WTO in 2002, except for bananas, coconuts, persimmons, Asian pears, pineapples, pomelo and mangoes, which are protected by tariff quotas, all other fruits may be imported as long as they pass custom inspections.
Take this apple from France, for example. It takes a month to ship it to Taiwan. Taking in logistic-related costs, it sells for 13 NT dollars per apple at our store.
With modernized shipping equipment, refrigerated containers, and efficient logistics, one can easily find quality fruits and foods from all corners of the world.
4.7度里面.
When a container arrives, we will first take a measurement of the temperature inside to make sure it passes our standards before checking on the product itself. We will only accept the cargo when both temperature readings are acceptable.
This batch of pomegranate from the US took 40 days to arrive by sea. Due to changes in humidity, the quality has been affected.
瑕疵品有发霉的感觉.
By cutting open one pomegranate, we can see that mildew has already started to grow inside.
那这个通常它就会被判定为一个坏果，这个不能卖。
When a shipment passes through customs, the Ministry of Health and Welfare will perform an inspection. We will also inspect it once more after we receive it.
We will randomly inspect about 5 to 10% of the goods, and an acceptable defective ratio is about 4 to 5%.
On average, Taiwan imports about 300,000 tons of fruit per year. Right at the customs inspection, more than 10,000 tons are deemed defective and thrown away. The inspection process and the chemicals involved are quite complicated as well. Here at the fumigation chamber of the Quarantine Treatment Center, one batch of pest-infested apple has yet to be returned to its place of origin.
This batch of apples was found to be infested with eggs of a pest. As it is deemed foreign and harmful, the shipment has to be quarantined and treated with fumigation. The typical agent we use is methyl bromide.
Though methyl bromide is the most common fumigation agent used for quarantine, the warning signs outside of the fumigation chamber tells of its toxicity. Meanwhile, those fruits that have been fumigated appear with the rest in the markets without extra warning labels. Despite all this, the business of imported foods seems to be flourishing.
Actually, Taiwan currently doesn't have enough farmland to be completely self-sustaining when it comes to its food supply. Also, the lower cost of imports gives them a competitive edge here.
On the other hand, the free trade makes life more difficult for small-time farmers in Taiwan and subsequently increases the country's dependency on imported foods.
进口的农产品，它的比例是增加的。
Due to the competition brought by the increase in imported foods, Taiwan has been unable to increase its food self-sufficiency rates.
Globalization and free trade may greatly benefit those who offer the highest quality at the lowest price. However, when reducing carbon footprints and increasing food sustainability are added to the equation, perhaps selecting imported foods is not such a good idea.
Xie Lixuan, now a third grader in elementary school, started watching DaAi TV when he was in kindergarten. In July of last year, he learned that several children in Hualien were getting up every morning to listen to Master Zheng Yan's wisdom at dawn broadcast. Determined to do the same, Xie now gets up every morning to listen to the Master.
Some of what the master says, I don't really understand. But the areas that I do understand, I will for sure write them down. What I don't understand, I will later ask my mom. The master once said, with hard work, anything can be understood, and everything can be brought to fruition.
Every morning at 5, Li Xuan, now in his third year of elementary school, arrives at the Kaohsiung Jingsi Hall to watch the master's broadcast. As he listens, he takes notes throughout.
The joy of not harboring desires. This is the direction in which we want to progress. This word I haven't learned before. Yes.
Although once unfamiliar with Taiwanese, after watching Wisdom at Dawn for 6 months, Li Xuan has picked up some words here and there. Without a working knowledge of Taiwanese, how does 10-year-old Li Xuan listen to the master each morning? Much has to do with his mother. Now 8 months pregnant, Li Xuan's mother will copy down what she hears during the broadcast and help Li Xuan with areas he doesn't understand.
Really, most Buddhist philosophy I don't understand, but I have seen in how I raise him day to day that the master's words have had a noticeable influence.
As Li Xuan grows up, he will for sure encounter setbacks in his life. And his mother is finding that the master's Dharma is helping her teach her son how to understand and overcome such challenges.
Listening to Master's talk is like listening to a lecture. Where I use it most is in raising my child. For example, maybe he will start crying very loudly, but after talking to him for 5 to 10 minutes, he is happily playing once again. And you know that he has already passed through whatever was bothering him. I feel that he is now better able to concentrate on his work and get along with his classmates.
Thanks to the Dharma, Li Xuan has become a better student and through his perseverance has not only begun to learn Taiwanese but find answers to the many questions in life.
Next, we take a look at the year-end blessing ceremonies in Taiwan at the Tzu Chi Banqiao Grounds in New Taipei City. Tzu Chi volunteer Zhang Baogui and her husband took to the stage to share how Tzu Chi has transformed their lives. Meanwhile, Beitou District volunteers invited community members to take part in the year-end blessing ceremony at the Tzu Chi Guanzhou Grounds. To ensure the smooth running at the event, volunteers put in a lot of thought, time, and effort. Let's first join them there.
The Beitou District year-end blessing ceremony is taking place at the Tzu Chi Guanzhou Grounds. Volunteer Qiu Yihui, who owns a pharmacy, takes to the stage with recycling volunteers.
If you are willing to open your mouth, you can recruit many members.
The number of participants attending the ceremony grows year after year. Some who were participants in the past have joined the ranks of Tzu Chi volunteers.
We should give more of ourselves. When I handed out the glutinous rice rolls to each one of the participants, they accepted it with so much gratitude.
Last year, Tzu Chi care recipient Su Zhen bravely shared her story on stage of how Tzu Chi volunteers helped her out of despair following her son's suicide and husband's injury. This year, Zhen hopes to reciprocate.
I received Tzu Chi's help in the past, so now I want to give back.
Behind every successful event is a strong and committed team of volunteers who takes on each task with a joyous heart.
I probably dirtied it while I was moving the boxes. I was focused on counting the items, and so I didn't notice that I have a stain on my uniform, but it's okay.
Thanks to the time and effort the volunteers put in, the ceremony was a dignified event filled with the festive atmosphere of the new year.
My name is Yang Anxing, and I hope to bring you peace.
When we receive the invitations to the year-end blessing ceremonies each year, my husband and I always look forward to attending.
With gratitude and joy, volunteers and residents ring in the new year. This year's year-end blessing ceremony holds a special significance for Zhang Baogui, as her entire family will be taken to the stage to share their story.
It wasn't enough that I was a teacher at school. When I was at home, I treated my own wife like my students.
If I didn't do as he asked, he would scold me and get upset. Even though it really hurt me, I could only shed tears alone.
I
wanted to open up a clothing store, but my husband felt that our children's education and upbringing was more important. So he said to me, which do you think is more important, your children's well-being or making money? He truly believed that it is a man's job to earn money to support the family, while a wife is responsible for doing housework.
Household chores, big and small, fell solely on Zhang's shoulders, including taking care of her mother-in-law.
My mother often told me that women are like barrel hoops that hold the family together. When we encounter difficulties, we should learn to be tolerant. Then the master told us that it's nothing to submit to humiliation. We have to learn to swallow your pride.
My wife is my savior.
Since joining Tzu Chi, the husband and wife pair has learned to be more understanding and forgiving of each other. These inspiring real-life stories help participants realize to cherish their blessings, as well as gain the wisdom to maintain a happy and harmonious family.
In Sichuan Province, China, Tzu Chi volunteers recently organized the region's first distribution of the year in Huaikou Town, Jingtang County. Besides handing out daily necessities, the volunteers also provided each recipient with a new coat and a new blanket. Thanks to Buddhist NGO, 388 impoverished families finally had the means to brave the harsh winter. In spite of the low temperatures, residents of Huaikou Town, Jingtang County are already waiting anxiously outside Tzu Chi's aid distribution venue. Among the residents is Du Xinhua, who arrived at the venue wearing a jacket passed on to him from his son.
This jacket used to be my son's jacket. It was given to him by Tzu Chi years ago. He gave this jacket to me because he no longer can fit in it. The fit looks alright on me.
Upon receiving a coat from the volunteers, recipient Mr. Huang quickly puts it on because he only had a light jacket. Besides a new coat and a new blanket, each recipient also received daily necessities. With Tzu Chi's aid in hand, recipients' hearts and bodies are now filled with warmth.
The purpose of the distribution was to help those living in poverty. A total of 388 households, or 796 residents, received Tzu Chi's aid.
Thanks to Tzu Chi, needy families finally have the means to brave the harsh winter. On the first day of 2015, a fire broke out in Quezon City, leaving some 2,000 families homeless. As the fire occurred next to the city's Jingsi Hall, volunteers held an aid distribution for the victims the following day. Each family received an aid package filled with useful items as well as consolation cash, a welcome addition to what has been a tragic start to the new year in Quezon.
A fire on the first day of 2015 in Quezon City of the Philippines left 2,000 families homeless and living in an emergency shelter. Brenda's 3-story house was one of the many that burned down, leaving her with nothing to her name.
There is not much to say. What is done is done. We can only look ahead, as right now we are starting from zero.
However, Brenda's family is not giving up hope and is already rebuilding, while Myrna's family was happy to see some old friends.
Seeing Tzu Chi, we feel there is hope for the days ahead. In the past, following a flood, you brought us rice.
Following their disaster assessment, volunteers immediately put together an aid distribution. In addition to daily sundries, volunteers also decided to hand out consolation cash. The help was a lifesaver for Emma, who recently lost her husband and has had to raise her 2 children alone.
My problem now is that I don't have anything to my name. I don't know how to start over. I have no house and have 2 children to care for.
The aid package came filled with useful items, including mats, second-hand clothing, pots, and towels, among other things. With these items, residents will find it a bit easier to rebuild from this tragedy.
I will use it to buy building materials to rebuild my house.
A carpenter by trade, Francisco will use the consolation cash to buy new tools. In gratitude, he helps out with the distribution.
Thank you all so much. If not for you, I'm not sure what we would have done.
With love, a new year that began with tragedy is moving forward on a positive note.
In our next report, woman Huang Ziling, who suffered from neurofibromatosis and became deaf-mute as a result, instead of feeling sorry for herself, Huang decided to live life to the fullest by expressing herself through painting. Her determination and spirit later won her a Presidential Education Award. Unfortunately, on January 4th, Huang suddenly passed away. By looking at these beautiful paintings, it is hard to imagine that these were drawn by Huang Ziling, a patient who suffered from neurofibromatosis.
The right side of Ziling's body was nearly paralyzed after a surgery 3 years ago. Since she didn't have much strength in her hands, she had to move the drawing paper around to finish her piece.
With the tumor affecting her brainstem, Ziling became deaf-mute and was unable to express her emotions through facial expressions. However, her deteriorating health didn't plunge her into despair, but instead made her stronger.
It was difficult for Huang Ziling to do chores such as washing clothes and drying them. However, she always insisted on doing such tasks by herself. She would carefully hang her clothing and fold them by herself.
Huang Ziling's mother passed away when she was in junior high school. Although Ziling suffered from illness early on, she still cared for her grandparents on behalf of her mother. She used to visit her grandparents with treats whenever she had time.
Knowing the importance of giving and being content, Ziling always makes sure to donate a portion of the proceeds from her paintings to charity. Although Huang passed away on January 4th, her spirit will continue to resonate in the hearts of those who knew her. We go back to Malaysia at the end of the show, where Tzu Chi volunteers in Malacca and Penang canvass donations along the streets to help those affected by the worst flooding the country has experienced in 30 years. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for watching DaAi Headlines. Goodbye.